Hospital officials in Gaza say at least 41 people were killed in an Israeli airstrike that hit a bustling seaside cafe. It offered internet access, making it a very popular location among students and journalists alike. Here's CNN's Jeremy Diamond with more from Tel Aviv.
Well, another deadly day in Gaza made especially deadly by a strike on the port in Gaza City. The target was a seaside cafe where at least 41 people were killed, 75 injured, according to the director of Al-Shifa Hospital. We can see in videos from the scene thick black smoke rising from the site of this airstrike. But then once you get on the ground to the aftermath of this strike, you can see how bustling this cafe must have been in the moments before the strike actually took place, because there are victims all over the place, broken chairs and tables in what was clearly a bustling cafe where people would actually come to try and get access to the internet. This made it a spot, Al-Baka Cafe, for students, journalists, and others trying to access the internet in Gaza, where internet access has been so spotty. The director of Al-Shifa Hospital saying that the majority of the casualties were indeed women and children. We do know that at least one of the people who was killed was a journalist, a freelance journalist, Ismail Abu Hattab. According to the Hamas-controlled government media office, that makes him the 228th journalist to be killed by the Israeli military since the war in Gaza began. But as these airstrikes are continuing unabated in Gaza, there is discussion at very high levels in the Israeli government right now about the potential for a ceasefire and hostage release deal. All of this coming in the wake of that ceasefire deal between Israel and Iran and the 12 days of military conflict between those two nations, where we saw a series of stunning military successes for the Israeli military. And in the wake of that, the Israeli Prime Minister is signaling that there is a window of opportunity now, perhaps to lead to a ceasefire in Gaza and a deal to release the hostages. And for the first time now, the Prime Minister is talking about the need to secure the release of the hostages as a priority, whereas as recently as a few weeks ago, he was making clear that defeating Hamas was the #1 objective. He now seems to be signaling that releasing the hostages is the priority. And so we will see. Clearly, there is disagreement within the Israeli government, with right-wing allies of the Prime Minister advocating for intensifying the war in Gaza. The Israeli military seems to be signaling that now is the right moment for a ceasefire and hostage release deal. We will see what the Israeli government decides. Jeremy Diamond, CNN, Tel Aviv.
The IDF says it's reorganizing access to Gaza aid sites to, quote, minimize friction with the population. The Palestinian Health Ministry says more than 500 people have been killed as they approached aid sites or trucks in the past month. On Friday, the UN Secretary General demanded that the killing stop, saying the search for food must never be a death sentence. CNN's Paula Hancock joins us now from Abu Dhabi. So, Paula, what's the latest on Prime Minister Netanyahu's push for a hostage and ceasefire deal with Hamas? What are you hearing?
Well, Rosemary, we know that Benjamin Netanyahu has had 2 days of meetings now on Sunday and Monday with his top advisors and ministers. And according to a source familiar with those meetings, there still hasn't been a decision taken on exactly whether they will go for this ceasefire deal. Now, the source says that Netanyahu is favouring a ceasefire hostage deal, but there are far-right elements in his coalition, a couple of individuals who simply don't want the war to end. They believe that the Israeli military needs to continue what it is doing in Gaza at this point. We understand as well that the Israeli Prime Minister will be heading to Washington shortly. There are reports of July 7th, for example, that he will go for his third meeting with President Trump, and he wants to have a decision made by that point. Now, President Trump has been putting very open pressure on Israel to come up with this deal. We heard from the US president last Friday, for example, saying he believes a deal will be done within a week. So that really does put a time crunch on the Israeli prime minister. But he did say on Sunday, Netanyahu, that he was putting the return of the hostages still being held in Gaza, some 50, as his main priority. And that was a change of what he'd said before, which is destroying Hamas is his main priority. So we do appear to be veering towards the deal being done. But of course, there are many pressures on Netanyahu. President Trump also saying on social media on Sunday morning, make the deal in Gaza, get the hostages back. Now, to remind us of just how crucial this ceasefire deal is as well, there was an Israeli airstrike where more than 40 people were killed at a cafe near Gaza port. Now, this was a cafe that was well known for housing students, journalists, remote workers. It had internet and many people went there to work. The director of the Al Shifa hospital nearby said that many of those killed and wounded were women and children. Many of them were students as well. We have asked the Israeli military about this incident and they say that it is under review. Rosemary?
Paula Hancock's bringing us that live report from Abu Dhabi. Many thanks.